In today's video, I'm looking at this. It is the Teradek Vidiu X live streaming encoder, and from this tiny, lightweight device, you can go live from anywhere in the world up to 1080p, 60 frames per second, and you can even do it over a cellular data connection. So this video is going to be like a hands-on review of the Teradek Vidiu X. I've had this unit for a couple of weeks now. I've done multiple streams with it. I also had a pre-production unit before this that I was beta testing and giving feedback to Teradek for. So I feel like I'm in a pretty good situation to talk about its features and my experience with the Vidiu X. So taking a look at the unit itself, first of all, if I start on the back with the inputs and the outputs, you've got HDMI input, which will support up to 1080p 60 frames per second. And then you've also got on the back here an HDMI output, which is really nice. You don't really tend to see that too often. But what that means is you can get a pass through of your HDMI input out of the output to something like a monitor. So this could be great for gamers who maybe want to stream their Xbox or PS4, plug it into the input on the Vidiu X, and then out of the output you can then send that to a monitor and continue gaming. You also have on the back here a 3.5mm audio input, so you can plug in external audio if you wish. As well as that, you have got a gigabit Ethernet connection, so that can give you your hardwired internet connection into the device for streaming. And the final port you have on the back here is a Type-C connector for power, and I'm a big fan of things moving over to Type-C. I use a lot the big brother to this device, which is the Teradek Vidiu GO. I love that device, but one of the things I love the most about it is it does have an internal battery so that you can use it on the go and as your mobile. Now the Vidiu X doesn't have an internal battery, but because it's got a Type-C connector for the power, there is nothing stopping you connecting it to an external battery pack, the same type of thing that you would use to power your phone, for example, and then you can use this mobile on the go, mount it on top of a camera, for example, and we'll talk about some of the use cases you might want to use this device for later on in this video. Just finish off the other ports on the back of this, then you've got a SD card slot which you can pop a full-size SD into here and record. On the other side, you've got a USB-A slot as well. You're going to use this for plugging in USB modems, and we'll talk a little bit about the types of connections that you can get for connecting this to internet, because there's three main ways that you can connect this device to the internet. And then on the front, you obviously have the display screen, a joystick for navigating the menus, and you also have a go live button here on the left hand side as well. On the back, you do have a number of different threads for mounting this to various devices, or if you want to screw it into a tripod, you can do that too. A couple of other things just to mention with this, in terms of how you control it, there's a number of different options. You can use obviously the joystick on the front. You can also connect it via an app on your phone or use a web UI. And then in terms of how you connect this to the internet, and we'll go into more detail in just a second when we test this, there's three main ways. You can obviously use the hardwired Ethernet connection. It's also got Wi-Fi 6, which is the latest Wi-Fi standard built in, so you can connect it to a Wi-Fi network. And then you can use 3G, 4G, or 5G, because this is 5G ready as well, dongles by plugging them into the USB ports on the side of this device. So there's a lot there. It retails in the US for $699, and you can pick them up from today. But how good is it? Let's get it plugged in, fire up a stream, and really put it to the test. What I've done then is I plugged the Teradek Vidiu X into the HDMI 2 output from my A10 Mini Extreme ISO. Love the fact that I now have two HDMI outputs that I can use, and I'm sending a multi-view feed to the input of the Vidiu X. I've also powered it via USB-C and connected it up to my home network via hardwired Ethernet connection. So when you first boot on the Vidiu X, you're going to need to find out what the IP address of the device is so that you can connect to it. In my case, I'm using the web UI. So what you do is, using the little button on the front, you can actually navigate through the menus. You go to network settings, then go to wired, in my case, and then it will actually display the IP address that it's connected to. So here it says 192.168.1.140. So then what I can do is I can jump onto my laptop here and actually visit that IP address to bring up the dashboard of the device and start to put in some of the settings that we need for going live. So you can see put in the IP address and it goes straight in. It might ask for a password, and they come as default as admin, and admin for the username and admin for the password as well. But for me, the password's already saved, so it's throwing me straight in. And this is the dashboard that you're presented with. A lot of information, really useful information on one screen here. So going, I guess, from left to right, let me just explain what you're seeing here. You've got audio levels. So with a very simple visual, you can see whether you've got audio coming into the device or not. You've also got a visual representation of the video feed, and it's updating every 1 or 2 seconds or so. So you can see what's actually going out live. Then beneath, you've got some of the stats. So you can see the HDMI input. It's a 1080p 50 frames per second is what I'm feeding into the Teradek Vidiu X. You can see it's connected via a wired connection. And then also, as this has Wi-Fi as well, it's actually got 2 modes of Wi-Fi. You can have it as the device that puts out the Wi-Fi signal, and then you connect things like phones to it so that you can then use the app to control it. Or you can have it like any other device, connect to your home Wi-Fi network. So it could be either an access point or a client. And then I've selected the bitrate of 6 megabits per second of what I want to encode up to whatever platform we're going to, whether it be YouTube, Facebook Live, Twitch, or whatever. We also obviously in the middle have the big red go live or big green go live button. And then some of the stats about where we're pushing the stream to there. Just quickly flying through the menus so that you get an idea of how to use this. We're in the streaming section, and this is where you'll set up your destination for your stream. And if I just click here, we have all the options, the usual options we're expecting to see, like YouTube, Vimeo, Facebook Live. It's got Wowzer on there as well. And of course, you can do custom. So you can use RTMP or RTSP to send it really to any platform that supports those protocols. So if you want to stream to Twitter, you just use RTMP. Same with Twitch and things like that. In my case, I've actually already filled in the details for Restream because that's where we're going to send our test stream to so that we can see it working. And we also have options here for things like adaptive bitrate, so that the Teradek can be quite clever, and it can realize that if the internet connection is degraded, it will lower the bitrate and lower the quality so that it can still get a signal out. I know my internet connection is good, so I've disabled that. And you've also got features like auto reconnect as well, so that if the internet connection cuts out, it will try and reconnect once it regains its connection. I did mention as well, you can record onto an SD card, so that's where you turn this on and off. And in the audio and video tab, you can also set up more granular details about the video as well. So if you want a specific resolution to go out, so maybe you're putting a 1080p signal in, but you want to stream a 720p signal, you can do that here. You can set the bitrate. I've set mine to 6000 because that's what I use for Twitch. And you can also set the keyframe interval as well. On the audio side of things, you can choose whether the audio is coming in from the HDMI or the analog input. You can set the volume and again, the bitrate of the audio too. The key part here is the network settings as well. I've mentioned them a little bit. I've got mine connected to a hardwired Ethernet connection, but you do have also the option for Wi-Fi and a 4G or 3G, 4G, or even up to 5G USB modem. And I'm going to show some of these features as well when we talk about, in the next section, Sharelink, because they're really key, but they're super easy to use. But let's actually do a stream and test this out and see how easy it is to set up and how quick and good the stream quality is. So what I would do is, first of all, go into my RTMP settings, and all I've done, if I just open up my Restream account here, I have just copied my stream settings from here and pasted them in this RTMP section here. And then the only other thing I did really is I just went over to the audio video section and I set the bitrate to 6000 and made sure that the audio was coming from the HDMI. Once I did that, there wasn't really much other setup to do. So let's go live and I guess give it a go, see what happens. So I'm just going to hit this go live button here. You can see on the left hand side it says starting, and then it will say connecting. And now in theory we are live, so we should be able to go back over to the Restream tab here, give it a refresh. Let's give it a refresh here, and then we can see our feeds coming in at 1920 by 1080, 50 frames per second, the 6 megabits per second that we selected, and the keyframe interval is 2, and we've got our lovely preview of the stream there working absolutely fine. So it might sound too easy and too good to be true, but it really is that easy to set up. And that's one of the key selling points, I guess, of this unit is that it's small, it's light, and it's just super easy to use and to get a stream out to the world. Now, I want to talk about some of the other features that the Teradek Vidiu X actually has, one of which is Sharelink, because for me, I think this is probably like one of the main selling points that you don't see in other encoders, and so this kind of, for me, justifies the money of the product. Sharelink is basically Teradek's online cloud service that allows you to do two main things in my eyes. One is network bonding, and what I mean by that is, let's say you're in an area of poor Wi-Fi connection, for example. Maybe you've got a Wi-Fi connection, but the speed is really slow, but you've also got good cell coverage. So you've got good 3G, 4G, or if you're lucky enough, 5G. What Sharelink allows you to do with a Vidiu X is you can use both of those connections. You can use the bad Wi-Fi, but the good 4G, and you can then bond those connections together into one strong, stable connection for streaming. You send your signal up to the Sharelink in the cloud, and then Teradek then sends it from Sharelink to Twitch or to YouTube. And the other key point about Sharelink is it allows you to stream to multiple destinations at once. So let me show you how it works. Firstly, you're going to want to go to the Sharelink website, which is sharelink.tv, and create an account on there. And Sharelink is a paid service. There's a number of different pricing tiers. I personally only need the on-demand service, which is, looking at it here, $2 per gigabyte of data that I use, pushing out to a service like Twitch, for example. But they do have other plans, so you can pay by the month. There's a $24.99 per month plan, and there's a $49.99 per month plan. But for most people, I would imagine the on-demand service is enough. You're basically paying for the outbound data. So you don't actually need to sign up if you just want to test out Sharelink. But from the moment that you actually decide that you want to push to, let's say, Twitch or YouTube, that's when you start paying. So to set up a video within Sharelink, you just click the Add New Video button here and enter the code displayed on your video device. So now we need to go back to the actual video dashboard. On the RTMP settings here, I'm just going to click on RTMP and switch that over to Sharelink. And then it's going to allow us to link our account. So I'm just going to click Link Our Account. And it's going to give me a code that I can copy and then go back over to Sharelink and paste that code in. And then hit Add. And I'm just going to choose London for me as our nearest server. And then it does take a minute or so just to connect the two devices together. And you will actually see on your Vidiu X, you'll see it says connecting. If it comes up with error or anything like that, just give it a few extra seconds because it will connect. There we go. It's just popped up here in my dashboard. And now what I'm getting is basically in the cloud. So anyone can view this around the world, but in the cloud, I'm getting a preview of the input in my Vidiu X. And I'm also able to change some of the settings here. And there's a couple of things that we can do. So the first thing you'll notice, if I click on the settings cog here within Sharelink, it will actually tell me where it's getting its data connection from. So in my case, I'm only on a wired connection right now, and I want to change that. I actually want to also add a hotspot from my mobile device. So what I'm going to do here is go into my settings on my iPhone and turn on my personal hotspot. And now that that's on, I'm actually just going to go back to the Vidiu X, go over to network, go to Wi-Fi, and change that from an access point to a client because I want to connect it to my phone. And now I'm going to scan for available Wi-Fi networks, and hopefully it should find my iPhone. There we go, up at the top. Put in the password. And now it will connect to my iPhone's 4G connection and also start using that as a data connection. You can see here it's connecting at the moment. My 4G connection isn't great in this room, so hopefully it does connect. There we go, it's connected. And now I'm connected to two sources of the internet, my wire connection at home and my 4G on my phone via a hotspot. And hopefully if we go over to the Sharelink page now, we can see that. We can actually see what data, how it's splitting that data. So right now we're getting around, it's splitting it about in half, around 3,000 each, 3,000 kilobits down the hardwire connection and 3,000 kilobits down the Wi-Fi connection. And so that means if for any reason, for example, you know, my hardwire connection went down, it's okay. The stream wouldn't just die. It would send the full 6,000 down my phone internet connection. And that's what network bonding is. And it's a real great service, and I think it's one of the key things about the Teradek Vidiu X when you do pair it with Sharelink. The other thing I just want to show you here, so that's network bonding, but if we go back to video sources, so we're getting our connection in, I can actually add multiple channels that we then want to send this stream out to. So if I click add channel here, I set up one for YouTube earlier, so that's there ready. Let's add that. And then all I would need to do is hit go live to actually start pushing to my YouTube channel. But we can also set up more. So if I go to the channel section up at the top, I can click add new channel, and you can do Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Vimeo, a few other ones as well. But you can also set up custom RTMP or RTSP pushes. So if there's some that aren't on this list, you can still send them in. And once you've connected all your channels, they'll be displayed along the bottom here. And then you can just hit go live when you're ready to go live on each one, so that you can simultaneously stream on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, or pretty much anywhere that accepts RTMP. And remember, because you're streaming through a bonded internet connection, so again, if I just hit the settings here, you can see we're connected to wired and Wi-Fi. I could also attach a 3G, 4G, or 5G USB dongle to the side of this device and set that up here in the modem section, and we could be streaming through 3 separate internet connections. So it does give you that extra redundancy, so that if one of them does for whatever reason lose connection or fail, your stream doesn't just stop and die. It continues, and the viewer in theory shouldn't even notice that one of your connections has gone down. Okay, so let's finish off this video by talking about my likes, my dislikes, and where I really see the Teradek Vidiu X being used. So firstly, my likes. The biggest one has to be the size, the weight, and the ease of use. It is just perfect in all of those aspects. It's really lightweight, really small. I can see it being mounted on top of a camera very easily. And then you saw whether you're using the web dashboard, super easy to use. It's got all of the information that you could ever want in there. Very, very simple and quick to set up a stream. Or if you're doing it through the app, again, all that information is there, super quick and easy to connect the app up to the Vidiu X and control everything and start a stream from your mobile device, which is great. Talking of mobile devices as well, I think one of the big wins of this device is the fact that you can connect a 4G, 3G, 5G USB modem and stream from anywhere. And also the fact that if you then are pairing it with Sharelink, you can do mobile bonding to get a strong stream connection from multiple internet connections. So whether that be a wired Ethernet connection, Wi-Fi, or a USB modem, you can bond all those connections together so that if one was to fail, your stream still goes out without going down. So those are some of the positives. The other one that I would just mention, and it kind of ties into one of the use cases, is the fact that this can be powered using a USB battery bank as well. So it doesn't just tie you to these sort of studio situations here. I can, as well as being used in studio situations as a main encoder and at events, I can also see them being, mounted with a hot shoe mount on top of a camera, for example, powered via a USB battery bank, and then plug it into a DSLR camera and then roaming around the streets of wherever, like Monaco, New York, and streaming in full HD rather than just doing a stream on your mobile phone like in the old Periscope days. So I think there's a lot of use cases to this, whether it be in news gathering and things like that. Those are some of the likes. Let's talk about, I can't even call them dislikes, they're just things that I would like to see in the product in the future, I think. Although the first thing that I would mention that I have noticed with both the Vidiu units that I've had is that there is a fan noise when you plug it in. And you probably can't hear it through this mic right now because I do a lot of noise cancellation, but it is noticeable to my ear. So I would say you're probably not going to want to have this on the desk near your microphone in case it does pick it up. But there is like a small high-pitched fan noise I've noticed on both the units, just something to keep in mind. The second thing is what I'd like to see added in the future is obviously the Vidiu X supports RTMP and RTSP protocols. I would love to see SRT added as well. SRT is being used a lot more frequently nowadays. I use it a lot for bringing in remote guests, and I just think like this product would be awesome if I could ship this out to a guest and basically say, okay, press the big red live button, and when they do that, it starts sending an SRT stream back to me here in my studio. That would be a killer feature, I think, on this product. So there you have it. That is my hands-on experience with this thing, the Teradek Vidiu X. I've really enjoyed using it. If you found this video useful, please do give it a thumbs up, because that really helps here on YouTube. Also, make sure that you've hit the subscribe button if you're new, and turn on that notification bell so that you get notified when new videos drop. If you have any questions about the Vidiu X or any other products that I feature on my channel, just put them in the comments below. I read all of them and reply to as many of them as possible. And if you've got specific questions about your setup, you can always ping me an email. The email address is on screen below now, and we can set up a one-to-one consulting session to get those questions answered. Once you've done all that, guys, I'll see you on the next one.